What's up, everyone? And thank you so much for joining us here today on the Police Softball Podcast. Man, that was a cool entrance or intro. Want to thank Carly for that. That gets y'all pumped up, ready to go. You got the season upon us, and I'm super excited, man. Can't wait. I hear everybody's starting to go to different tournaments. Everybody's getting the hype going again. So I'm really excited, man. I'll tell you what, Paul. Sup, you handsome devil. I appreciate that, Paul. Thank you. I think you're talking to me. So I appreciate that, Paul. Hey, so today we have a wonderful show. I am Trini Trinidad, and I am the coach of the San Antonio Law in San Antonio, Texas. But I am currently in Colorado Springs, Colorado, enjoying this beautiful weather, the mountains. We're talking about, unbelievable weather here. The environment is awesome. It's a great place to be right now when it comes to his soul, kind of getting back into the swing of things because it's all outdoor stuff. I went up to Pikes Peak, did a few things while we were here, man. It was really cool. So I highly suggest Colorado Springs, Colorado for you guys. So on to this show. I am been in law enforcement for 23 years. I played law enforcement ball for that long. I was a member of the United States Air Force, did a tour, got out, 23 years again in law enforcement, two-time cancer survivor, a franchise business owner of Biotechs. That's a crime and trauma scene cleaning company, and a nonprofit founder with Shields for Kids. So that's a little bit on me. But I want to tell you that we got Albert Sanchez joining us. What's up, man? Andreas, how's it going, brother? Super excited. Andreas says, St. Louis, anyone? Back-to-back champs. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, man, San Antonio Law went up there last year, and we had a good little run. So it was great. And we're going to be talking about that St. Louis Show Me Classic here in just a little while. One thing I want to let you guys know, that we have a huge conference that's going to be coming up. It is called the Keepers of the Peace First Responders Conference. It's April the 12th and 14th next year. It's at the beautiful Hyatt Regency downtown in the San Antonio Riverwalk. And like I've told you before, steps off the Riverwalk. And it's going to be a great event. Cool breakout sessions. In fact, I know we went into it the last show, but the sound didn't work. So we're going to run that video by you again, because one of the breakout sessions we're going to have is a workout and shoot with the San Antonio SWAT competition team. And, you want to talk about an example of a really cool event. We got badass breakouts at this badass conference. And here's a little video with music this time to give you a taste of what you can expect.
Boy from Texas, San Antonio is going to set the bar for us, and they're off.
Yeah. So, man, another thing that gets you all pumped up. Those guys are amazing, and I'm excited that we have them as one of our breakout sessions. Again, Keepers of the Peace Conference. We'll pop that information back up there on the screen later on. But now let's get on to the show. Oh, and we're going to let you know later on how to get qualified to win a Chris Vector. You guys are really going to enjoy that. And so we'll get to that here shortly. Pop, thanks a lot for joining us, brother. And Trey, that's what I'm talking about. It does look fun. We appreciate that, Trey. Thanks for tuning in, man. All right, so let's get the show on the road. We've got our first guest joining us, and his name is, well, I did this last time. I said the name first. I want to introduce the guy first. He's a detective sergeant in the Florissant PD in St. Louis County. He's played law enforcement softball now for 11 years. I know that he won't tell me much about his accolades, but I know he won the home run derby contest at the Texas Showdown that we hosted here in San Antonio, Texas. Couldn't get 10 words out of him when I tried to videotape him about it. But he is the current coach of the Missouri Lawmen, has been for the last 10 years. He is my friend, Joe Monahan. Welcome to the show, Joe. Whoa.
How's it going, Trini?
It's my department issued COVID.
Put it back on. Put it back on, Joe.
How's it going, Trini?
Good, man. Good. Hey, I'll tell you what, I had some really cool messages from some people that knew that you're going to be on the show. And they were like, hey, dude, I hope you don't have it on a widescreen angle because you're not going to fit Joe's mug on that screen.
That's a great joke. I've been dealing with it for my whole life.
Well, I'll tell you what, I want you to know that I have a lot of comfort with you on the show because, of course, you know that you and I have shared some great talks. And I love what you got going on there in St. Louis. The guys that play on the Missouri Lawmen are a class act, man. I love hanging out with those dudes. We've been fortunate enough to have them at a few of our tournaments. And so it's a credit to that leadership. But there again, you know, where these guys come from, man, check those dudes out, man. Those are some tough dudes, man. I hate drawing y'all's name in a tournament. But hey,
You're
Joe,
right.
Thanks for joining us, man. Yeah.
You smoked us the last 4 times you played us.
We got lucky. No, man, but I'm really excited to highlight the St. Louis Show Me Classic here shortly, and also to get some of your opinions on a few things that are going on in the police softball world, man. So thank you very much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So we got John Brazil saying this is awesome. I appreciate you, John. We got our second guest on the show. I got my notes here because I just know him as a cool dude, but he is a patrolman. He has been in law enforcement softball for 14 years. He's played on the Illinois Lawmen, but like he said, everybody's lawman, so it's just kind of Illinois was initially who he played with. But his current team is the Great Lakes, and that is my boy, John Jay-Z Zintak. What's going on, brother? What's going on, John?
Trini, how's it going?
All right, Jay-Z. I'm excited to have you here, man, because you're one of those dudes that whenever I see you, we get a big old hug and I feel those huge lats and I'm like, you know, trying to hold on to you. And then you got that hug that keeps going and going. And then I see all your veins pop out and I'm like, damn, this dude, man, you're a big dude, but you got a big heart. And I appreciate you being here today, man.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, man. And Jay-Z agreed to join us. And one of the things I love about hanging out with Jay-Z is, you know, when we go to the World Series in Vegas, you know, we always hook up. We always sit downstairs and talk. I think we even have a picture of us here recently where we were, I think it was the last World Series tournament. And that's one of the things about the PS.com World Series is when we get there, we get to catch up, hang out, and everybody kind of looks for everybody. And so it's a great time, man. Jay-Z, I'm excited to be able to, you know, talk to you about what your thoughts are, you know, when it comes to the circuit, you know, law enforcement softball. And maybe you can share some of those workout tips with us too, man. You don't mind. What you do works.
Mugshot, Potter.
Hey, I'm excited, dude. So I'm going to get you back on here in just a second, man. Thanks for joining us today. All right. And then our last guest, you know, everybody knows him within the PS.com circuit. I was able to join him on the field here recently on a game, and, you know, he led the way. And that's one of the ways that people, you know him as a leader, outspoken leader, but, you know, tons of experience when it comes to law enforcement softball. He's one of those dudes, though, that, you know, if you're somewhere and, you know, something breaks out, you're lucky to have him there with you, because he's definitely one of those dudes going to go towards the danger. He's a retired sergeant from Chandler, Arizona PD. Played law enforcement softball since 1986. Damn, I think I was a junior. I was a junior in high school at that time. He's the first Shevy Wight Sportsmanship Award winner. He's a member of the Police Softball Hall of Fame. He was awarded, and check this out, he was awarded the Del Pickney Lifetime Achievement Award. What an honor. He's played with the DEA, SingCal, LAPD Blue, and this guy, everybody knows him by Benji, but he is Keith Benji Benjamin. What's going on, Benji?
How are you?
All right, man. Good, man. Good. Thank you again for being here, man. I was explaining before you got on that I had the opportunity to be on the same team with you for a change, instead of on the opposite dugout looking at you going, damn, is this dude going to come out of that dugout sometime soon? Because, man, when you play with a lot of heart, and I love that, man. Thanks,
Trini. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Dan Potter's saying that, hey, Missouri guys are a very classy team. Thanks, Don. Thanks, Dan, for tuning in. And so I'm excited, Benji, because, you're very opinionated. And when I hear you or when I read, on the message board, on the ps.com message board, I always like hearing it because it's raw. And I myself, I dress things up quite a bit when I talk, but I can appreciate somebody who really speaks, again, from the heart, and I like it, man. And I appreciate that about you, just so you know.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, man. And it's hard. Some of these dudes, hard to get words out of them, but I know once we get started on these topics, it's going to be good. So,
well, you could have said you were in your 20s in 1986 instead of a junior in high school.
You got a lot of experience. That's all I was saying. I was just saying you have a lot of experience.
Just say
Donald Rebecca Kuntz Meyer says, wow, that guy is old. Thanks, Donnie. Appreciate you tuning in, man. Yeah, man. All right, so let's bring our other guest back on. All right, very cool. So we're all here, and hey, I want to welcome everybody to go ahead and send in any questions you have for our guests. We'd love to. Pop goes, I wasn't even born in '86.
Nice.
Hey, so yeah, man. So, again, welcome to send in any questions that you have. One of the things I wanted to go off of and start this whole thing off was with Joe. Joe, we have your tournament that's going to be coming up, the St. Louis Show Me Classic. And I myself have attended it with our team. And man, it's a damn good tournament, not just for the tournament itself. The fields are great. Of course, the competition is top rated competition there. But it's also off the field stuff that goes on that makes it, badass. So, man, tell us a little bit about it.
This year it's going to be held August 1st and 2nd. A couple things are still up in the air because of all the COVID restrictions and all that. So I'm not sure about the pre-tournament party on Friday night, what we're going to do yet. I'm still working on that. I got a couple things I'm getting lined up. Cardinals, they had a schedule lined up. They weren't going to be in town that weekend. Now they may be in town, or they may be playing all their games in Florida. I was in touch with someone from the Cardinals today, and they couldn't give me an answer one way or the other just yet. But either way, I'm going to get something lined up, whether it's going to the game. I like to give everyone the opportunity to go to the Cardinals game, or if they're not going to be in town, I got something lined up so we can bring a group through Busch Stadium for a tour through the locker rooms and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That'll probably be on Thursday afternoon or Friday morning if we do that. Cool. I also trying to get something together lined up like a Saturday evening. I like doing like a happy hour kind of thing with discount drinks and food.
It's a good time.
And try to do that again this year. Again, it's kind of up in the air at this point. I can't get anyone to confirm just yet, but I'm working on it and confident it's going to happen. So
cool. Benji, Jay-Z. I know Jay-Z's been there because we've shared some times over there at the player party. Benji, you ever been to that St. Louis Show Me Classic?
I went to the very first one that Joe had.
You've been a lot of first ones. You've been in a lot of first ones.
Throw me together team. We made it to the finals. We had to pick up an extra guy, and then Joe's team beat the crap out of us.
I remember that. That was the year. That was 2014. We had the Ferguson riots. We had to push back the tournament till October, and after the World Series, you guys got a team together and came out, which was awesome. I actually got to bring you guys to a Blues game because Cardinals were over by then. So, but we got to go to some kind of local sporting event, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'll tell you.
Let me say that Joe is a very good host. You go to St. Louis, you'll get taken care of very well.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that.
And I know that, like Jay-Z, we've met up there before, and it's important that what you do off the field, it's just as important as what you do on the field, and hanging out with your boys, getting caught up with everybody. That's very important. And they put on, Joe and his team, they put on a great players party over there. And so, yeah, that's an example of out at the field with Joe's.
That's a great picture there, Trini.
Yeah,
I like
it is.
that one.
Joe's mom and pops right there. Yeah. Hey, so Joe, when you're talking about your tournament, why is it, do you think, that people come out to your tournament? So it's so competitive,
What I like about my tournament, the thing about my tournament, in my eyes, is that it seems to be one of the more competitive tournaments on the circuit. That's not trying to put anyone else's down or anything like that, but I like to think that mine's one of them, is up there to be one of the more competitive ones throughout the year. There's always top teams that show up, and from bottom to top, you never know who's going to win it. There's been a St. Louis tournament for 15 years. I've run it for the last 7. And each of those 7 years, it's been a different team to win every year. And cool. I think the 2-state rule helps out a little bit, where you can't bring like a super team, if you want to call it that. Put from all over the country, bring it to run through everybody. This kind of gives an opportunity to see what your team's made of. And this year, we're not going to do the 2-state rule because of the COVID restrictions and people getting furloughed and pay cut and not being able to travel with their teams. I don't want to see teams back out this year because of that. So we're going to drop it this year, but go back to it again next year. But I think
that's a great move, man. I think it's a great move. You're going to have people who are going to be hurting for guys. There's still a lot of restrictions going on, a lot of people that are still working. It's going to be difficult to field a team, And so I think that's a great move for this one tournament in particular. And like Benji and I were having a conversation before, and I know all of us feel the same way. Dude, do what you want to do. Make it open. I want to go and I want to win something that has the best of the best. I'd love for everybody to talk about an open tournament. It's like, dude,
I'll say your run last year was probably one of the best I've seen. When you beat Ohio Lawmen, then you beat Great Lakes, then you beat us, then you beat SenCal, then you double dip Minnesota to win the whole thing. That was unbelievable. That run there, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It was definitely a year to remember because we've gone up there for many, many years, and oh man, we've been able to enjoy the city way too much. We didn't want to enjoy the city that much, man. I'd rather get on the plane like exhausted and not be able to do anything, But hey, you bring up a good point as far as the 2-state rule. Benji, I know that you've been outspoken on some conversations as far as that 2-state rule, and I love hearing your angle on it, man. Would you mind filling us in on that? Because I know I, for one, have played a lot of civilian ball and law enforcement ball, and we really kind of open tournaments is what we went to a lot in the beginning, and there were no classifications or anything like that. So what are your thoughts on the 2-state rule and classifications, things of that sort?
Well, I understand the whole idea of super teams and not being civilian softball like they have in the conference, but there's a lot of places that I think if we opened it up to 3 states, that they would be able to put themselves in a higher bracket. So there'd be more major teams instead of mid-major teams. And if everybody's goal was to get to the major division, which seems to be shrinking every year, maybe some of those teams need the 3rd state. I played in every World Series except for one, and it was the year I played with Sin City because I lived in Arizona and Ronnie Connor lived in California, and they were a Nevada, California team, and I was on the team all year except for the World Series. And back then they're like, no, we're not going to the 3-state rule. So I don't know, maybe some kind of compromise, maybe a limited number of players from a 3rd state. But I think if the goal is to get everybody to the major level and be competitive, then maybe we need to take a look at it.
Yeah. I give Jeff and of course Dale when they founded this thing through all the years, and I know we've talked about it and we mutually agree. It is difficult to put on a show like these dudes do, and it's not just the tournament. This is rankings throughout the year. This is like forecasting of the year to come, keeping up with all the different moves and the different drama, if you will, within the circuit. So we know that these dudes put on a hell of a show, and it is, Benji, to your point, kind of like a business. I mean, you're trying to field as many teams as you can, give them a great experience, and it's difficult to do that when it comes to keeping it kind of like in an open format. But I like your way of thinking because that's the way I've always known it. Jay-Z, what are your thoughts, man? What are your thoughts on that?
Another thing Joe didn't mention about his tournament that makes his a lot different is he starts the tournament out with the one big bracket, kind of like how the World Series used to do, well, many years back now. I don't know if it was the first four or so, at least it was one big bracket. But Joe starts it out with the one, you play the round robin games, but then you still start in the one bracket. And then he also has a drop down bracket from there. Whereas it seems most of the tournaments now are after the round robin, you're predetermined whether you're going up or lower. So it kind of gives a different feel that most tournaments don't have anymore, where you start out with that everybody in one bracket, which is kind of different and kind of cool.
Yeah, and I like that. It does give you a good sense of being able to play, almost like the World Series format, where you're able to play some different teams, and it's that draw that you get. Is that how y'all do it, Joe? The draw?
With the draw, you're talking about the way we do the three game or the 2 game pool play into the one bracket, and then then it's a drop down bracket where the first 5 or 6 teams out eliminated drop down, either do a single or double elimination bracket for themselves, and there's prizes for that bracket as well.
Yeah, and
Southwest Airlines in the last 4 years has sponsored that bracket, and they've given free flights for the top 2 teams.
Man, that's awesome. And that's what's interesting for that is that, to me, I'm trying to bring awareness to the police softball circuit, period, not just ps.com, because we all know that's the biggest stage, but like some smaller teams, I guess it's like farm clubs, if you will, like getting them interested in like, hey, come out to some of these tournaments, because look, you may end up taking a step up in competition, and you may get it handed to you when you get there, but hey, there is a silver division, and I like that. And can you explain that to us?
You're talking about the lower division?
Lower bracket for the
so the drop down bracket basically is everyone gets a shot at in the first bracket. The drop down is where the first few teams that maybe go 0-2 or 1-2, they drop down to the lower bracket to play amongst themselves, while the upper bracket's completing. That one starts up, and like I said, Southwest Airlines is sponsored the last few years, so there are prizes for that bracket, and guys battle it out. And typically, majority would be like gold teams would be in that. Occasionally, there'll be a majors team that's not playing so well that day, and they actually drop down to that bracket, and that's happened a few different times. But for the most part, that's how it typically works itself out.
Yeah, and that's why I love your tournament also, is because these teams can show up and still get an opportunity to go out, continue into the tournament even after they lose, multiple games. We've been there before, so I know. Yeah. So hey man, so we got Albert Sanchez has got this question for us. He's aiming it at Benji, but we'll ask: should Cali be split in half due to the number and caliber of players? Ooh, damn! I didn't expect that one to come up so quickly. Yeah, that's been some talk, as far as for those of you that don't know, California is, man, that's a hell of a state for softball. I mean, I know it's got to do with that weather down there, but man, they've got some serious teams. Do y'all know how many teams that California hosts? I mean, how many teams that they come down to the World Series or in our circuit? Any idea?
I'm not sure. I know California seems to come out to St. Louis every year, which is awesome. But total, it seems like they have. Benji probably knows more than I do, but maybe 15,
I wouldn't know the exact.
15, it seems like.
Yeah, I wouldn't know the exact number, but I would think it's probably 15 to 20.
God bless it, man. Those dudes are serious. So I don't know, that conversation has come up. And the reason that that's come up is because for those that don't know, when you go up to the World Series and a lot of these tournaments, it's a 2-state rule. And so you can only draw from 2 states to be able to formulate a team. And that's what we've been talking about. I don't know, man, it's kind of a hot topic. I don't know if anyone has any comments on that one.
There's been talk about splitting California for a long time, but I think if you look at the makeup of teams, a lot of the NorCal teams have people from NorCal because they stay in NorCal and play. A lot of the SoCal teams have pretty much predominantly players in SoCal. Every once in a while, you'll get 1 or 2 guys that are playing on different teams, but I don't think there's a need to split it. I think for the most part, if you really looked at the genetic makeup of teams in California, most of the teams come from their same either Northern or Southern California.
Yeah. And I don't know the difference between these. I mean, these dudes, like I said, I know there's a lot of switching and stuff that goes on, and it's understandable, but I know that these dudes always show up and they just seem to be competitive, man. These dudes I don't know if they play year round or what, but I would imagine, because they're really good. So let's see. Christy says, like Illinois and Michigan with that water border. Oh, okay. So they've got that one coming up. I've heard that come up, but I'm not too familiar with what's going on with that. Do y'all know what the deal is a little bit up north?
Yeah, it was something in like, I don't know, I want to say 2010 or so. There was a debate over that, and it went to the committee, and it was approved that Illinois and Michigan were bordering states. So that's what Christy's talking about.
And so is it difficult, man, because of that water border then, or is it,
No, it's not difficult. It was more just the technicality. If Michigan and Illinois were considered bordering states.
Oh,
that's what it came down to.
I think the difficult thing is where the other teams are upset. They might get upset because they don't think there's an actual border there. When in reality there is a border. There's a water border.
And Joe, you're on a committee, right? Aren't you on a committee with PS.com?
Yeah, I'm part of the competition.
Love you too, Mike.
What do we got? Oh yeah,
Mike and Christy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So Joe, you're on that competition committee. So
Correct.
what does that competition committee do?
Sometimes before the World Series, things come up as far as eligibility of players, and either that, whether a team wants someone that's in the academy to try to get them on the team or something, or if a guy doesn't have a team and there's nobody in an adjoining state but he wants to jump on with a team, is that going to be allowed? Stuff like that.
Oh, okay. All right. And then you guys come together. How many are on the committee?
I think it's maybe probably around 12 or so, around a dozen.
Oh, okay. Well, then there's a lot of conversation that comes on.
Yeah, it's a mix between East Coast, West Coast guys, and in the middle where I'm from, me and Brad Johnson from KC.
Yeah. Good to know. Yeah, good to know. Hey, so we'll switch gears a little bit. Hey, Benji, so I got to play on your team here in the last World Series. And, like I told you before, I've been a part of your competition on the other side of the field. And I've always seen you, and I'm like, dude, this guy, he's freaking on people. He's 100% hustle. And I've always known that about you. But at the same time, being on your team, I see how you take charge. See how you were, this wasn't an exhibition tournament. I mean, this was a, Hall of Fame game, but hey, there was no exhibition involved in it for you. So I thought that was really cool, man. I enjoyed that. I think Benji's there.
Yeah, you broke up a little bit, but you're talking about the East-West Hall of Fame game last year?
Yeah, man. I'm saying that you led the team, and I was impressed, but not surprised because I played across the field from you. So I thought it was a great experience, man. I was saying that it's not an exhibition. to you, that definitely was not an exhibition. To most of us in there, it wasn't. But I thought it was really cool to see what I saw across the field on the same team, and that was cool.
Well, that was for bragging rights. So I've had to listen to it from all the East Coast guys since we lost. So that was trying to win at no cost, so we didn't have to listen to it all year.
Benji's like Pete Rose in the All-Star game back in the day. 100% all the time.
Yeah, man. Hey, Jay-Z. So tell me, man, what's some of your fondest memories with playing law enforcement softball for those guys that are wanting to get involved in it? I've talked to a few teams that are saying, hey, I want to start a team up, but I don't know if we can even compete on a level with these guys on these big tournaments. I mean, what would you say to these smaller teams that are interested in coming out and wanting to, participate in our circuit with PS.com?
Well, it depends. I mean, there's tournaments out there for every level of play. That's what, like we said, almost every tournament now is broken into different levels, whether there's at least two at every tournament, sometimes even three. So you've got, and it goes all the way up to the major, where the major level is, it's pretty skilled, pretty high level. So if teams want to play at that highest level, they've got that opportunity. It's some of the tournaments are where you have to play in to get into that upper tournament, but we definitely don't have the problem of teams wanting to play up right now. So if somebody was coming in and they were looking to play high level and wanted to play at that highest level, they're probably going to be able to do that, because there's not a whole lot of teams that are locked in and predetermined into that major division. And if they just want to play ball, they don't feel like maybe they match up with some of them higher level teams, they've got that opportunity too. There's opportunity pretty much to play at whatever level you want in the circuit. It's just a matter of how many teams you're going to have in a certain division at a given tournament, and that'll vary.
I think that one of those things that I would share with the newer team is like, hey, get your guys together, get some consistency, and to be able to play in some of these smaller tournaments. But ultimately, when you go out to play in the PS.com circuit, it's a whole nother level. And I realized when we took our team up there in that first year that, man, we're going to really have to, get it together, because these guys, I don't know what they do. I don't know if their departments give them time off to play or pay them to play or what the hell, because these guys are good, man. So I knew that we really needed to, lock our game down if we wanted to be on a higher level, when it came to PS.com. Benji, what would you tell a team that's just, interested in coming out, but not really sure, what's it going to take for a team to get on a competitive, level with PS.com?
I think, like Blair's written many times, you got to find somebody to take charge of it. And a lot of the successful teams have a leader who probably doesn't play that much, who has to think about it. You got 12, 15, 8 personality guys with egos, and you got to find playing time, and you got to find the right people. So if you find the right group of guys that all get along, that are committed, I think part of the problem is it's hard to get guys committed all the time. It's hard to get the same guys to every tournament you want to go play. And I play a lot of senior softball. It's no different. If you can get the same guys to go week in and week out, or a couple times a month, you're going to get better. If you don't, then you're going to stay the same. And I think if everybody just thought about, hey, I want to strive to get to the top, however I have to, and I'll put the work in to get better, then I think we would be a little better off. Yeah. I think right now, what are we down? 10 major teams, maybe that many? Mm-hmm. Joe, JC, 10, 12 at the most. We used to have 24.
Well, the last couple, we've been 14, and then a play-in bracket, at least at the World Series, a play-in bracket with an extra 2. So that'll give you the 16. So you got the 16 in the major and 16 in the mid-major.
Yeah.
So could we add 8 more teams if guys would just say, okay, I'm gonna put a little more work in it, and our team's gonna be a little better, and go out and make that major division 24? I don't know. Maybe.
Joe?
Well, yeah, that'd be great, but it seems like we're it's going the opposite direction right now, where it's struggling to get those 16. I'm with you. I'd love to have I'd love to have the 24 or even up to the 32 of the top division to make it that perfect bracket. You got no buys. That would be ideal. But I think right now the 16 is probably going to be, at least for the next couple of years, we're probably looking at that. But who knows?
I think that Benji had a good idea, and I thought about that. I talked to Brad Johnson about the 3-state rule. I think that's not a bad idea, and I think that could bring in more majors teams. I think you can get up to 20, 24 that way. That's just my thought. But
yeah. Jeff got on here shortly. What's up, Jeff? And he said, plenty of players, shortage of leaders. Benji nailed it. And I think that that's a great point, because to get to that next level, you really have to have somebody who's willing to sacrifice. I don't care how you slice it, man. If you're trying to raise money, if you're trying to, put on tournaments to support your team, looking for sponsors, trying to get everybody to show up, dealing with the people who back out, for whatever reason they back out, and you're trying to field a team. I mean, there's a lot that goes into having a team. I'm not a big fan of getting a bunch of people together, a bunch of all-stars, and going and, for the purposes of that. I don't mind picking people up just to make a tournament. But as far as getting a bunch of all-stars together to try to go win something, I'm not a big fan of it. I personally don't want to leave the field with a medal or shirt, whatever, when I got a bunch of people to come in. I'd rather win it with the dudes that I, go out with all the time. So for me, I think that's something that I would give advice to a team that wants to be competitive on a level like PS.com is, somebody's going to have to take that leadership role to be able to give that consistency that you need, to come to this tournament to do well. That's my take. Jeff also said, Trini, let's see, what does it say? Trini used to have a name. Now he has a logo. He's like the pop singer Prince now. Simply a symbol. Thanks, Jeff. Boy, he's good at busting people's balls, isn't he? Hey, so all right. So hey, moving on. What do we got as far as coming up with your team, Jay-Z? Anything big? Any tournaments coming up?
Our plan is next one, St. Louis. So we got St. Louis, and then D-Max tourney in Chicago, and then the World Series. So the plan right now is the 3 of those. Hopefully we can get the full team together for that. We've got the luxury now of Joe's. If we're short a guy or two, you can pull somebody else. So that's our plan. Those 3.
Yeah. Benji, what do you got going on, man?
Well, when Tully put the team together this year, him and Potter, and we played under Code 3, we only decided to play about 4 tournaments. A lot of the guys are still playing senior softball and other things like that. So we're looking to play in West Covina, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And then we were thinking about maybe trying to go to the Vegas Olympics, but I think that was canceled. And we're trying to get to St. Louis as another tournament, but we're probably only going to play maybe 1 or 2 more tournaments before the World Series. And we played in the DEA tournament, but we only had a third of our guys. So hopefully we're able to play a couple more times before the World Series.
Who's on that team, Benji?
Everybody that's over 50.
Okay.
Tully, Ledesma, me, Bankston. We picked up Chad from Vegas. Just a couple other older guys from the DEA team, but our average age is probably over 50.
Don't be fooled, everyone. Don't let that man fool you. Those dudes come out and they go base to base. They got a lot of experience. They make it look like they're there to just hang out and have some fun together, but no. Those dudes with experience like that, be warned. Yeah, plus, man.
It's Potter's team, so we'll get all the calls at the World Series.
Yeah. I talked to Dan about being on the show. He's like, I don't know what I can contribute to it, but I'll be there. So I'm excited to have Dan too, from a perspective of an umpire. So Joe, what do you got, guys? What do you guys got going on?
Oh, we got my tournament coming up August 1st and 2nd. We're going to be we got a team going out to Baltimore. We're going to be playing out there. That'll be the first time we've been out there. That's going to be pretty competitive based on the team list that they have on ps.com. If that's accurate, it's going to be a bunch of good talent there. We're also going to try to make it out to Chicago and be out in Vegas as well.
Cool. Hey, just some quick fire questions. What do y'all think is your most important position as far as defensively on a team on the field? So we all know a manager, we got role players, very important. I don't think role players get enough credit, man. Those dudes, man, they're there. They suck it up all year long. They put the work in and they're waiting for their opportunity. Sometimes they don't get it on the starting, on the starting teams, but man, those dudes, they come through. When you get injured, when you just need to switch it up some. So role players, coaches, for sure. As far as on the field, though, defensively, what are y'all's picks as far as what you think is the most important position on that field?
I think pitcher, and you just got to have. It just makes a huge difference. You got someone who can field his position and can throw strikes regularly, and get guys off balance, stuff like that, and still throw strikes. If you got someone like that, it makes a huge difference. And I've had guys that on my team that have made a huge difference, and there's been years where we've struggled with that position. So in my eyes, pitcher is number one.
What do you got, Benji?
I agree with Joe. Your guys up the middle have to be the best, but I mean, let's look at Habig. There's a reason that people just pick him up for the World Series, right? Habig can pitch, he can play defense, he can hit it a little bit. You get a guy, when Jay-Z's team won the World Series, Pancake and Biscuit, they had two good pitchers. If you have good pitchers that can throw strikes and can field it, then you got a better chance of winning than anybody else.
Agreed.
Yep. Jay-Z?
Yeah, pitchers kind of, that's an obvious one. All the major teams have a pretty solid pitcher. So after that one being the obvious one, I'd say a guy that can it'd be a toss up between someone that can go run it down in center field, because you're playing a 3-man at major level. So when you got someone that can go run it down, like a Ricky D from LA and Marksbury, Kentucky, those type of guys out in center field really put you a step ahead. And then it'd be that and a toss up between someone that's on the left side of the infield. I think either whether it be middle or shortstop. If you got a Mort type or Nate up the middle there, it makes a big difference. And I think pitcher would be first, like those guys said, but that's probably the obvious one. You start to most of the major teams have that. You start to see a little difference then when who's got the rest of the package up the middle.
Yeah, I agree with that. Pitcher is that obvious one, and it's the key, man. When you can see some of these major. Oh, look at that bunch right there. That's down at the lobby at the Golden Nugget, the host hotel for the World Series, and you can see my boy Jay-Z. No shortage. That whole damn squad there, man. No shortage of protein shakes in that group. Yeah. We hung out for a while, but down there at that last host hotel in Vegas. Yeah, that was cool. I agree, man. That pitcher, I think it's amazing when you see a pitcher come in and shake up a high-class team. I mean, it's something to see, and I didn't experience it till my first World Series. That's when I saw some of these pictures that were just – they were amazing, man. The way that they throw you off with their timing was just crazy. And then the defense, when you have a pitcher that shuts down that middle, not that we go up that middle. We know that we try to respect each other and not hurt them. But at the same time, I know that, there are some views of, hey, that's a part of the game. And especially, hey, the game's on the line. It's one of those things. And so having a pitcher that has that defense really makes a difference also, So, oh, God, these comments. You got Dan Potter saying, easy, Trini. Don't give away our secrets. Jeff Blair says, wax, says catcher. Jim Smith agrees, says catcher is definitely important. Ask the ump.
So Mike O'Neill put an interesting one up there, said should we start considering Masters over 50 rather than over 40? And he makes a good point, because a lot of these teams now have, they've got starting players all over the field that are 40 plus. So it's that 50 plus is really turning into the true masters, like the team. Benji's got a lot of those guys, he said, on his team this year.
Yeah, Benji, what are your thoughts? Because I agree. At 40, I was feeling damn good. Something between 40 and 50, kind of things start to kick in a little bit more intensely. But Benji, what are your thoughts?
I think the only problem is we've always had a shortage of teams. I mean, they can only handle, usually 8 teams at the World Series because of time constraints. But I'm just afraid if we don't allow the 40-year-old guys, that we're going to have less teams. And hopefully one day we're going to be able to have 12 Masters teams rather than just 8. But I don't mind playing against the 40-year-olds. And, most senior softball starts at age 40. But I can see where O'Neill's talking about, hey, we got a lot more guys over 50, but are we going to get those 50-year-old guys to show up to the World Series?
That's interesting. Yeah, Joe, you're what, 31? You might be a little while before you get there.
30.
What are your thoughts on the 40 and 50? What are your thoughts on that, 40 and 50?
No, I enjoy. I played in it the last few years, and I enjoy playing in it. I put a team in it last year, Louisville Slugger team, and Jay-Z was a part of that as well. We go out and have fun. It's a good time. Win or lose, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I see Blair's putting the 50 plus mic at four teams tops. I agree with them. I like the 40. I'm not saying to change the 40-year-old. I'm more touching on the point that there are so many guys out there now on the major teams even that are 40 plus. I see Donnie Myers. He put on their
60 plus.
Maybe it should be 60 plus. But Donnie Myers he still hits like he's 40, and he's still playing with the defense every time he comes up to bat. So I think Donnie's quite all right playing with the 40-year-olds still.
I think keeping it at 40 is a good idea. I think that's you got a better chance of getting more teams.
Yeah, good, and that's what it's about too. Because I know that we had co-ed at one point. Is co-ed still going on in the World Series?
I don't think so. I think there was a female bracket for a few years at least.
Yeah. I know co-ed's been suffering for a while. Even at our police Olympics, we've had it used to be pretty strong, and then it seems like it's kind of dying off a little. It's a lot of softball to be playing in a weekend, to do all of them, to try to participate in the Masters and Open, and then maybe in a co-ed. But yeah, I think that's interesting. What are y'all's favorite times in Vegas, man? Tell me what y'all like to do in Vegas when you go up there for the World Series. What's your best? What's one of your things your teams do?
Hash House a Go-Go. Have you ever been there?
Nope. What is it?
You get food that's bigger than the plate, and they serve 2x4 cans of Bud Light, 24-ounce cans of Bud Light in a brown paper bag. You gotta love it.
Oh man, nope, not been there before. That'll be interesting. What do you guys got? What do you guys do in Vegas?
I usually hang out with Tully, so we go to Heart Attack and Grill because he eats for free. Anybody that weighs over 350.
That man is amazing.
Hey, next time you go there, make sure you call me. I want to tag along.
Yeah, I haven't been able to go there yet either. That's definitely on the list. Tully though I've seen that dude play, man. I was talking to Joe at one point, and that's one of those dudes that I don't know if I've seen him make 10 outs before. I mean, that guy's amazing. Definitely cool to watch him play. Where do y'all head out to? Jay-Z, you got anywhere in particular you go besides the gym?
I'm a fan of the Texas de Brazil. I usually hit it on the Wednesday when I get out there. So it's not a team deal because a lot of the guys are still coming in on Thursday. But you can't beat that. Good food is as much as you want, as long as you want. So yeah, I'm always good with that.
That's cool. Yeah, we go down the strip some, the old strip, and we go down to this like container village or something like that. And they've got some really cool little restaurants in there, and we go up there and have some tacos. Go figure, from San Antonio. We go up there and we have some tacos from that container place. I don't know what it's called, but I'm sure somebody will remind me. But yeah, man, what do we got? Albert Sanchez says, that's our problem, Trini. Jay-Z over here drinking water and half our team drinking beer or whiskey right now. John Urban says, Jay-Z hangs out and watches Wax drink. That's pretty good. Hey, so we're getting ready to wrap it up. What do you got any some final words that you want to be able to share with everybody? I mean, I know that I want to have you guys back. I definitely want to have a show. We'll have Jeff on the show when we talk about like the rankings. That's one of the things we want to highlight, show everybody how, this PS.com, they put everybody on West, East Coast, West Coast rankings. And then we have one ranking for everybody, down the line. There you go. So those are our national rankings right there. I think we have our highest ranking ever this year. It's pretty good. There's the East and the West. There you go. Yeah. So it's, man, the work that goes in. Can you bring that back up one more time? Let's just show the national rankings. There you go. Maybe let's try another one. Let's try West. What I want you to see is that, man, when you start looking at the years, we're talking about, this is what Jeff and those guys now, Code does also, where they rank these teams and they keep your rankings throughout the years. They come up with these reasons why they rank them the way that they do. I mean, you think about these teams. What are the teams? How many teams go there? Is it 66, something like that? How many teams go to the World Series, guys?
About 70, I think.
Is it? Man, these guys all year long, they're sitting here putting in work on this website. So there's an example of the type of circuit that we belong to here in PS.com. So what do y'all have to say? Any kind of final words? Because I know we want to have a show on the rankings. I definitely want to do that because I want to know how these rankings come to be, all the work that goes into it. But what would you guys like to see when it comes to a show? I'm going to ask everybody if they'll please send us a message with topics that they'd like to see on future shows. But what's something you guys would like to discuss, maybe on a show of its own?
You stumped us, Trini. I've already talked about a few with you. I'm sure you already have, as far as we kind of touched on it in the today's episode with the people that run teams, and Jeff mentioned in the comments about there's no shortage of players. It's the guys that are running the teams, and I think that's a good point. I think there's a lot that goes into it that people don't understand about when it comes to running the team and putting together a traveling softball team, and just the time that goes into it and everything like that. And I don't know, maybe that could inspire someone to go out there and start up their own team. I don't know. Yeah.
I think that's awesome, man. And we've talked about having a show like that where we talk about the ins and outs of being a manager. I think it's a lot goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. And it really is a commitment. And it's all year long, really. You may get a month and a half to 2 months off, but then it's back to the, fundraising and organizing of things and dealing with all the different personalities like Benji touched on earlier. You get a bunch of type A personalities. I was on a SWAT team, for example, 28 type A personalities. Everyone was the shit where they came from. And, you get everybody in one room, and there's a lot of personalities that go along with that. So I think managing a team from that aspect would be an interesting conversation. Benji, what do you got? What do you think would be a good show to highlight?
Well, I don't know about a show, but you said if we had anything, as a final discussion, I think all of us have to step up and start recruiting people to play. If you look at softball in general, even in the civilian world, there's not as many softball players as there was 10 years ago. I don't know if it's just because people don't want to be competitive or they don't have the time to do it. Maybe people don't know about it. I think if all of us try to recruit a couple guys to come out and play, or at least see what's going on, For instance, a lot of the older guys that I talk to know nothing about the Hall of Fame. So I kind of took it upon myself to make sure they got nominated, to make sure they knew about it, and if they were worthy of it, to at least get on the list. But I think we all got to take that responsibility so this doesn't die. I think we owe that to Dell. We owe it to Jeff. We owe it to Jimmy Lemon, guys that have been around forever, you know, they just wanted to play softball all the time. And I think if we all had the mindset, let's go out and get people to keep this going, then I think we'll be a lot better off, because we all need an out, right? We need an out. This is an out for a lot of people.
Absolutely. We touched on that on the Good Cop, Bad Cop video. And that was one of the points that I like to make, because it was very important to me, because that is my therapy. Going out and hanging out with my boys, being able to play a game that I love, was extremely comforting, and I was able to release a lot that, you know, I kept inside, because I'm in an environment, you know, with these guys that I go to battle with, if you will. And I did it myself, where I took a step back and said, I want my team to survive. I don't want this to end. And I was willing to do what I needed to do to be able to keep that, you know, our tradition of our team alive. And I'm super happy, because I'll tell you, the memories and the relationships that have been formed off of that. I don't know, you know, where I'd be right now, especially dealing with cancer in 16 and then again in 18. These guys were my lifeline in a lot of ways. So I agree. Jay-Z, what do you got? You got a show, a particular type of subject that you think you'd like to discuss?
I got nothing popping to me right now. Both those guys, I'm in agreement with both of them. Like Joe was saying, it's Wax is passed on a little bit to me, trying to get things together for Great Lakes, and it's a tough go sometimes. You know, you got guys for different reasons, work, family, and whatever else it may be. It's hard to pull 12 guys for these tournaments a lot of times, where you know, it's turned into, I think the original thought that comes to mind when it's an open state tournament and you're pulling guys from another team is that you're trying to load up. And I think more so it's just trying to get a 12th, 11th, and 12th guy out there. And of course, you're going to try and find the best guy you can to fill that spot. But and you know, that goes to what Benji was saying as far as recruiting more players, because even the teams we have now that are consistently out there, everyone doesn't see it, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of scraping going on to get your 12 guys there for a particular weekend. Even if you're starting 2, 3, 4 months in advance, you think that would be enough to pull 12 together, and it's tough.
It's extremely tough. In fact, when you travel, I hate going anywhere without 15 guys at a minimum. If they're going to come into play, if you last any amount of time in a tournament, you know, you're going to need 15. And when we go to Vegas, man, I like to have 17. But, you know, then you got to deal with the, you know, like who's willing to sit, who's willing to play their role, because you can only put, you know, X amount on the field, you know, that 11 on the field. I know Jeff talked about a future show. I don't know if we can find it there. There you go. We need ideas for an exhibition game during opening ceremonies. We had Futures versus Legends, East versus West, Hall of Fame game, Wounded Warriors, etc. We need a fresh idea. So I think that'd be a great thing. If anybody out there has an idea, I think it'd be a great you know, thing to bring up, and we can discuss that. Albert says morals and ethics in police softball. Man, that one's it's an interesting one.
Tripp's got a good idea. Bring the players' families out to play, and the players can coach.
I got an idea. Why don't we play the East Coast Wives against the West Coast Wives, and we can sit back and drink beer, talk trash.
I like it, Benji.
That'd be a good one. Tyler Wilson says coaches versus coaches would be awesome to see. And so does Eddie Leal. Yep. Yeah. Tyler and I would lock down center field for sure. Yeah. Jason says, don't listen to Leroy. He's just trying to see the field. Hey, Jason. Yeah, man. Well, that's great, man. Hey, I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed having you guys. And like I said, you know, I think we're going to have, Tyler Wilson saying Canada versus the United States. Tyler, Tyler, are you drinking on some of that Canadian beer and ketchup chips you got up there?
That blue.
Jeff says, coaches, all-stars. I like it. East versus West. And yeah, Rick Torelli says we would all have a scorebook, no gloves. Dan says a small ball wooden bat. I've been toying with that for a while. I've had a lot of people talk about having, one of those wooden bat kind of tournaments. I don't know if y'all have ever played in that one. I played in a tournament one time when I was in the Air Force where they did that, and they also you had to bat opposite oppo, right? You had to bat opposite of what your strong hand is, and you also had to run to first. You had to run to third instead of first. You had to run the bases the opposite direction. And man, you talk about messing people up. It was pretty interesting as far as an exhibition type deal, but it made for interesting when once everybody started drinking. But it was one of those tournaments where it was a fun tournament. You know what I mean?
I like the wood bat idea. I like that.
Y'all ever played in one?
I played wood bat tournaments and leagues and stuff. We got a couple leagues in St. Louis that are wood bat.
I have.
I've never played in one. Pretty interesting.
It's fun.
Yeah, I like Potter's. I like Potter's plan. I like the wood bat. Minus all that crazy stuff you're talking, Trini, with the backwards run and all that stuff.
It messed everybody up, man.
Regular
Infielders,
ball, bat,
fielders didn't know where to throw. Guys didn't know where to run. I mean, it was pretty hilarious. So yeah, let's see. Jeff Blair says, remember, the idea is to make it fun for the fans, not just for the players. So yeah, man. Well, cool. Well, hey, I just want to take that second to thank you guys very much for joining in. And I don't know if y'all have registered. Y'all ever shot a Chris Vector? You ever seen a Chris Vector?
Seen it, haven't shot it.
Yeah, man. Pretty interesting, man. We're giving one of those things away, and we'll give some details here in just a second. Yeah, it's a pretty smooth weapon there. I have a lot of fun with it. But we'll talk to everybody about how to win that here in just a second. But hey, any parting words? Benji, Joe, Jay-Z?
Thanks for having me, Trini.
Yeah, Trini, thank you. And when I get to see my teammates, I'm going to hug them just like I did before. I don't care about the coronavirus.
Yeah. Jay-Z?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Benji more. I had enough of that stuff on day one, and just ready to see everybody, my own team, and all these other guys at the first tournament. Yeah, I'm excited too, man. I'm ready to get the show on the road. So, hey, man, I appreciate you boys hanging out. Thank you so much for making the time. It was awesome. I know we're going to have you back for different topics. So, thank you guys very much for joining us.
Thanks, Trini. You guys be safe.
All right, man. Thank you, guys. Yeah, man. Hey, so like I said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm going to go over just quickly how to win that, how to qualify for that Chris Vector. We're gonna pop that on the screen here quickly. If you go to our YouTube channel, there it is, Trini Trinidad. You just subscribe to the channel, turn on all the notifications. We'll go through that here in just a second. Just share that channel with 10 friends and leave a YouTube comment on any video, letting us know that you shared this channel. And here's a quick rundown on how you make that happen. So you'll type in my name because I'm not known just yet. And you type that name up, you hit that filter. That filter will allow you to find me. You'll go into our channel under the type. And then you'll hit, there it is with my mug on there. Once you hit that, you hit the subscribe button. Then you'll see the notification bell on the right. Go to the top notification bell and you'll hit all. So that way you get notified of all the notifications coming your way. And that's it. And then you'll be registered to win this Chris Vector. So thank you guys again for tuning in. We really appreciate you spending that time. If you get that chance, come to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Really nice. And they didn't pay me to do that. So, hey, Jeff said, damn, I didn't realize you were doing this. Glad I saw the last little bit. Great job, boys. I appreciate you tuning in, Jeff. Thank you very much. Hey, so that's it. Coming to you from Colorado for another Police Softball podcast. Tune in next week because it's going to be interesting. Yeah. Thank you guys very much. Don't forget, I got your 6.